So with your permission, can we start, sir? Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us here. We have gathered in this India Pavilion today for the first session of the side events today in the India Pavilion on understanding the concept of life. A global call that was given by Honorable Prime Minister of India, Shri Narendra Modi, during the COP26 last year. Subsequently, the mission LiFE has been launched last month, and we are honored to have among us Honorable Minister of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, Shri Bhupendra Yadavji, Ms. Inger Anderson, ED, UNEP, Ms. Usha Rao Monari, Associate Administrator, UNDP, Mr. Oves Sarmat, Deputy Executive Secretary, UNFCCC, Lord Nicholas Stern, IG Patel, Chair of Economics, London School of Economics, Mr. Parmeshwaran Iyer, CEO of Niti Aayog, who is joining us virtually, and Mr. Arunabh Ghosh, CEO of CEW, for this session today. Excellencies, Mission LiFE has a simple but very strong message, and therefore we have dedicated the theme of our pavilion as life, and are also organizing various events today related to conveying the experience and messages on life. To kickstart the event, may I request Ms. Richa Sharma, Additional Secretary in the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change of India, to kindly deliver her welcome speech.
Thank you. Honorable Minister for Environment, Forest and Climate Change, Labour and Employment, Government of India, Mr. Parmeshwaran Iyer, CEO of Niti Aayog, who's joining us virtually, Mr. Oves Sarmat, Deputy Executive Secretary of the UNFCCC, Ms. Inger Anderson, Executive Director of the UNEP, Ms. Usha Rao Monari, Associate Administrator of the UNDP, members of the media, officials from UN agencies, members of think tanks from India, young COP scholars, members of the Yango constituency, ladies and gentlemen. It's my pleasure to welcome all of you to this day, which is dedicated at the India Pavilion for amplifying the message of lifestyles for environment. Mission LiFE was launched by the Honorable Prime Minister on 20th of October in the presence of the UN Secretary General, His Excellency Mr. Antonio Guterres. At COP26 last year, Honorable Prime Minister had shared with the world his vision for a global mass movement for promoting sustainable lifestyles. India has also launched a LiFE global call for ideas and papers. Top 75 ideas will be presented at the LiFE Global Conference that will be held in India in June 2023. Details of this can be found in the India Pavilion. I invite all of you to join Mission LiFE. With these words of welcome, I invite Mr. Nilesh Kumar Saha to take forward the program.
Thank you, ma'am, and thank you for welcoming everyone to join the Mission LiFE. This is what we are here for. Niti Aayog of India, that is the National Institution for Transforming India, has steered the work related to life in India and globally as well. It is my pleasure to invite Mr. Parmeshwaran Iyer, CEO of Niti Aayog, to deliver the opening remarks. Mr. Iyer is joining us virtually. Sir, over to you.
Thanks very much, and good morning to all of you in Sharm el-Sheikh. It's great to join you from New Delhi. Honorable Minister and many colleagues and good friends, hello Inger and Usha and Mr. Seal. It's great to be here with you and this virtual audience from around the world and talk a little bit about the lifestyle for the Environment LiFE program, which is being led by Prime Minister Modi in India, and as with the minister being there in Egypt, I'm sure you've got the complete picture on life, but just a few words from us here in Niti Aayog. We work very closely with the Ministry of Forest, Environment and Climate Change on this particular program, which, as was mentioned, was launched by Prime Minister Modi along with the Secretary General of the UN on the 20th of October in India. A few words about the background of this program, which all of you have heard about. In this, Again, lots of studies, particularly from UNEP, have shown that individuals and communities can actually make a difference on the ground in terms of reducing emissions and, of course, improving the environment. And therefore, it's key that, and in the research study itself has shown that if only 1/8 of people worldwide adopt pro-climate behaviors, carbon emissions can be reduced by 20%. This is the UNEP study. And lifestyle changes alone could help the planet in slashing reductions big time in GHG emissions by 2050. So there is the science and the evidence on this. But more importantly, Prime Minister Modi at COP26 in Glasgow, he introduced the concept of LiFE along with the Panchamrit, which are India's climate commitments. In fact, LiFE is now a part of India's NDCs. And again, the specific call to action by the Prime Minister was to adopt a lifestyle of mindful and deliberate utilization instead of mindless and destructive consumption. And he termed this as lifestyle for environment, or LIFE, LiFE. So this is happening all over the world already. So it's not new. In many parts of the world, people are practicing climate and environment-friendly actions on their own and as communities. But perhaps LiFE is the first time that there's a focused attempt at scale, countrywide in India, and the idea is to take this globally, to make every human being aware of these practices and their far-reaching impact, and to actually get them to adopt action while the world and all of you are debating climate-related policies and actions at COP27. How do we sort of walk the talk on climate? And therefore, LiFE is envisioned as an India-led global mass movement that will nudge individuals and groups to protect and preserve the environment. And so everyone can contribute, and it emboldens the spirit of what Prime Minister Modi calls how do we become pro-planet people with basic principles of lifestyle for the planet, of the planet, and by the planet. So this was launched on 20th October in fact, at the world's tallest statue, the Statue of Unity in India, along with the Secretary General of the UN. And it was very encouraging to get strong messages of support for LiFE from heads of state and the prime ministers of Argentina, Estonia, France, Georgia, Guyana, Madagascar, the Maldives, Mauritius, Nepal, and the UK, who all provided very strong messages of video messages to this movement. So now in India, these have been, to be specific to the program in India, which the Ministry of Environment is now leading, there are 75 actions, specific actions to be taken by individuals under 7 broad buckets: energy, water, food, healthy lifestyles, waste management, single-use plastic, and electronic waste. So these actions are relatable across India and global populations. Important to stress that they cause no negative impact on economic activity, and in fact can stimulate growth and jobs. And so therefore these actions can be taken up by individuals, society, communities across the world. And they, of course, will need to be adapted to local environments. And therefore, in India, we have set an ambitious goal of having 1 billion people adopt these environment-friendly actions over a period of 5 years. So therefore, again, nudging individuals for a habit of think, understand, and recognize before using a resource, it will naturally have a positive impact on SDG 12, that is responsible production and consumption. And therefore, I would also like to take this opportunity in concluding to invite all of you and your organizations to participate in the LiFE's global call for ideas and papers, which was put out on June 5th. And this call invites scientific, innovative, and measurable solutions for climate action. The Government of India will be funding pilot studies of the best 5 ideas, and we plan to release a compendium of 75 or more such ideas and actions for the benefit of all. Today, on this occasion, we would like to encourage the international community and every global citizen to visit the Niti Aayog website on LiFE to know about Mission LiFE and how can all of you and all of us take this movement forward to make a more livable future for our coming generations. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be part of today's discussion.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you for your message, for the movement to be taken forward, the message of pro-planet people, and the message of nudging. As part of the nudging exercise, we have a very small token that we have in form of a badge of life. We would like our dignitaries on the dais to be felicitated with. May I request Ms. Pooja to kindly... Yeah. The badge has a magnet behind, so it could be put with the help of the magnet. Just after the event, we'll be distributing the badges to all the participants here as well. Thank you. Our actions to fight climate change matter, no matter how small. Mission LiFE also plans to leverage the strength of social networks to influence social norms surrounding climate change. Development institutions like the UNDP, UNEP, and also the UN in India, they play a very, very major role in taking forward the message of LiFE. It is a matter of satisfaction, honor, and pride as well that in the very first year of the call given by Honorable Prime Minister, UNEP has decided to extend its support to the Mission LiFE. I invite Ms. Sophie Loran, Communication Officer from UNEP, to take us through the gaming initiative on sustainable lifestyle challenges created by the UNEP and the UN System of Staff College. Ms. Sophie Loran.
So, ladies and gentlemen, many thanks for the invitation to present my Sustainable Living Challenge that we are developing together with the United Nations System Staff College. So, as we heard a little bit earlier, new evidence shows us that we need to shift to more sustainable living to address the triple planetary crisis of pollution, biodiversity loss, and climate. 2/3 of the GHG emissions are directly associated with households and our lifestyles. And I'm going to give you one simple example. Our food choice alone relate to 80% of biodiversity loss. So we need to act fast and we need to act on our lifestyles. They are made up of decisions around food, housing, transport, consumer goods, and leisure. And we need systemic change across all these sectors. We need also governments and businesses to set up enabling framework to make sustainable living the default option. Next slide, please. Unfortunately, there are conflicting messages that makes it look sometimes a little bit complicated or that make something that we will not able to reach and are only available for a few. But as you can see from the slide here, that all countries need to change their lifestyles. So once I'm saying that, so how we're going to reach now the 2 to 3 billion of young urban consumers which are about to enter the market with purchase power. And so we were like thinking at UNEP, how can we do that differently? Like, how can we find like new ways to reach and engage this important audience? So we thought like, okay, let's try gamification, because gamification is one way to make learning like fun and also motivated, that can motivate change. So I'm gonna, next slide, please. I'm gonna briefly present the Sustainable Living Challenge. So as I was saying earlier, it's an online gamified learning platform that promotes learning and behavior change through action. So it kind of helps you take the journey in an immersive environment where you can learn about sustainability, system change, and the impact of your lifestyle in how you eat, live, move, and have fun. So there will be weekly activities nudge to put your learning into practice. And you will also be able to share your expertise, ideas with your peers to amplify everyone's collective learning. And so the game feeds into the youth empowerment component of the UNEP Go for SDGs initiative, which accelerate progress to meet the 2030 agenda, and especially for SDG 12. It also contributes to the One Planet Network and its Live Life Better campaign. So I can tell you how excited here we are at UNEP to be cooperating closely with India and the LiFE initiative through this game. Next slide, please. So I'm going to try to explain you how the games work, but I think it would be better that you try the games once we launch it. It's, as I said, it's a global online platform. It's in English, and participants play around like 6 challenges. So they correspond to each of the sectors that I mentioned earlier. And in each challenges, there's like information that you can gather about the subject, and that are also activities that are curated, that are fun, and that you'll be able to share. So every question that you get through the game will help you grow your tree. So we refer it as the Tamagotchi. I don't know if people remember the Tamagotchi, but that's the idea a little bit behind, is that you have this toy that you need to nurture to keep it live. So every week you'll be able to compete against each other for points and participants, just to motivate around this idea of a challenge. And people will be able to get recognition for their action and help the environment, of course. And participants will be also able to share the progress with their teammates, push for a more sustainable community, and also use social media to share what they have learned and also the progress that they are making. As well, I just wanted to say that the Tamagotchi is a way to nurture like intention to change. So we think it's a good image. Next slide, please. And so LiFE plans to leverage the strength of a social network to influence social norms around climate. So my Sustainable Living Challenge games offer evidence-based baseline that make the LiFE action as impactful as possible. So that's the idea behind the slide. And if we can go to the last slide, please. So how people can get involved. So as I was saying, we're just testing the platform, but it will be soon launched in 2023. There will be a global rollout. And there will be also the possibility for targeted version for specific context and availability in more language than just English. So who can join? As I said, like the game targets primarily like the youth. So we are hoping to directly target like schools, university, youth movements, and activists as well. And we will be working with NGO network of teachers, including through UNESCO, and facilitator that can apply its content to their own activities. Thank you.
Thank you, Sophie. This is one of the very good examples of how to nudge people towards a sustainable lifestyle. Thank you, Sophie, for that. And thank you, UNEP, for supporting the LiFE movement. We have the next item also related to the UN Global Strategy for Sustainable Consumption and Production, which has already been developed by UNEP. A presentation on that will be made by Ms. Sophie Lauren. And also, she'll be talking about the campaign on Live Life Better. Sophie.
So, unfortunately, our co-chair from Argentina was supposed to come today, so I will be delivering his speech on his behalf. I wanted to extend a warm thank you to the organizer for welcoming me here today and to all of those attending this event. I'm sincerely looking forward to further discuss an initiative that has put sustainable lifestyle in the spotlight for the upcoming G20 presidency and has the inspiring goal to tap into climate-friendly social norms, beliefs, and daily household practices of different cultures worldwide to drive its campaign. So the 10 YFP is implemented by a global community of practitioners, policymakers, and experts, including governments, businesses, civil society, academia, and international organizations, also known as the One Planet Network. Collectively, the One Planet Network holds enormous experience and expertise in sustainable consumption and production and houses a global knowledge repository of project policies and tools. Today, I wish you to bring your attention to a key milestone for the United Nations and international community. On the last 19th of October, just a few weeks ago, the 10YFP board, together with member states and stakeholders, adopted the new global strategy for sustainable consumption and production developed by the Secretariat of the One Planet Network. The global strategy for the sustainable consumption and production provides several entry points to support the aim of the G20 presidency, recognize sustainable lifestyles and education as a core enabler for change. This shared version has been shaped also with the support from several G20 members who are part of the board of the 10YFP and have been active in the development of the strategy. In practice, to deliver on global sustainability ambition while leaving no one behind, this strategy has put forward 4 priority actions. First, further position sustainable consumption and production as an essential requirement and means to achieve global commitment for sustainable development, climate, biodiversity, and pollution. Second, enable change through circularity, transformative multi-stakeholder and public-private partnership, tool and solution across high-impact sector. Third, empower countries, in particular developing countries and stakeholders, for mainstreaming and implementing sustainable consumption and production patterns, leveraging the UN Development System. Fourth, key action in the new global strategy is to inspire and foster a global movement for sustainable consumption and production based on coherent science-based narrative. The objective is to build public support and secure, monitor concrete commitment for action, engage in government, the private sector, workers, youth, indigenous people, civil society, and the United Nations in a common effort to drive that change. Starting with new presidency of G20 next month, we must leverage the strong alignment between LiFE and the global strategy so they align their call to action, collaborate on common goals, and mutually reinforce each other. To this end, the One Planet Network is developing a joint campaign called Live Life Better, designed to encourage change in thinking about sustainable behavior, act on them, and inspire similar behaviors in other on systemic and individual levels. Among others, the campaign will build its focus area around the working program of the One Planet Network. It includes consumer information, tourism, lifestyle, and education. Together, this joint campaign is aiming to reach 100 million individuals with 100,000 actively engaged in the movement and expand its network to 2,000 organizational members, 50 member states, and 500 global influencers. Because it's through concrete, everyday, sustainable, and climate-friendly action, they can create a better life for themselves and more opportunities in the communities around them. Through daily life and sustainable action, they can inspire action and get info on the habit of living sustainably and daily. Because we get only one life and one planet, we have to live it sustainably by default. Thank you.
Thanks, Sophie, for the powerful messages and also sharing with us the strategy, the UN Global Strategy for Sustainable Consumption and Production. I'm sure that all of us, when we come together with our all small bits, we are going to make the world a better place as far as the climate change is concerned. To take this event forward, we have a small video on understanding life. May I request our IT team to run the video?
Each year, humanity consumes resources equal to that of 1.6 Earths. Globally, our households are linked to 2/3 of the total global greenhouse gas emissions. Human activity is the cause of the climate catastrophe. And humans are the solution. This is possible. But we need all hands on deck to give our planet a fighting chance. Our planet, our home, is a place of hope, of resilience, of solidarity, of people and communities living in harmony with nature. Last year, Prime Minister Narendra Modi gave life to an inspired idea. Lifestyle for Environment, or LiFE, which reminds people that climate action starts with each one of us. That small efforts can have a huge impact. And that simple, sustainable, and climate-conscious lifestyles can heal Mother Earth. The Lifestyle for Environment movement aims to transform at least 1 billion people in India and the world to become pro-planet people, to protect and conserve our environment. India, the 5th largest economy, on track to have the 4th highest GDP by 2027, worships nature in all its forms. With traditions that are steeped in ancient knowledge of the land and sustainability built into our lifestyles, India's call for people-led climate action resonates with all. The LiFE movement has given life to global climate solidarity, and we have stories of individual and community-led climate action pouring in from across the globe. Everyone can help limit climate change with the choices we make. From the way we travel, to the electricity we use, the food we eat, the things we buy, we can make a difference. Using cloth bags while shopping can save up to 375 million tons of solid waste from entering our landfill. Switching off your car at traffic signals can save up to 22.5 billion kilowatt-hour of energy. Setting one AC at a constant temperature of 25 degrees Celsius can save 500 kilograms of emissions per year. And installing water-efficient taps and showers can reduce water consumption by 30 to 40%. The world is one family, and we have only one home. Together, people and governments can and must resolve to fight this climate crisis. The answer lies with us, in the smallest of decisions that we take every day and the policies that support our actions. Let's make the right choices to waste less, save more, ditch plastic, switch to greener alternatives, support sustainable products, recycle, reuse, and reset. Be the change you want to see in the world. This one word, in the context of climate, can become the basic foundation of one world. This is a word, LiFE. LiFE. Lifestyle for Environment.
मिशन लाइफ का मंत्र है लाइफस्टाइल फॉर एनवायरनमेंट। पृथ्वी पर रहने वाले प्रत्येक व्यक्ति को व्यक्तिगत प्रयासों की कामना के साथ ही आज ये मिशन लाइफ का ये विजन दुनिया के सामने रख रहा हूं। मिशन लाइफ इस धरती की सुरक्षा के लिए जन जन की शक्तियों को जोड़ता है, उनका बेहतर इस्तेमाल करना सिखाता है।
As the video said, the answer lies with us. To ideate on the theory of behavior change, to nudge people towards sustainable lifestyle practices, and to share possible examples of sustainable lifestyle, Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change of India, in association with the UNDP, has come out with a compendium, Prayas se Prabhav Tak, to translate in English, from effort to effect. May I request Mr. Parth Joshi from UNDP India to make a presentation, short presentation on the compendium.
Thank you, sir. Excellencies, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, the first 9 months of 2022 have seen 29 multi-billion-dollar extreme weather events. From 1980 to 2021, the average annual number of weather disasters causing damage in excess of $1 billion was 7.7. If you look at the last 5 years, this jumps up to a whopping 17.8. Climate change is the biggest crisis we face today. It is also the biggest opportunity to change the way we develop. We have started to seize these opportunities with the Paris Agreement, COP26 in Glasgow, and the post-COVID green recovery narrative. But we need more from us as individuals, communities, and societies. The climate crisis is not just an emissions problem. It is also a perception problem. As individuals and societies, we are more often than not detached from climate change, failing to attribute our own actions as a contributor, and thinking of it as something that governments or businesses or other large institutions must tackle. This is not right. The way we travel, work, eat, the clothes we wear, the electronic gadgets we use, every small habit of ours has an impact upon the climate. Individuals and societies around the world are over-consuming or wasting resources like food, water, and fuel, even as billions fight poverty and inequality because of lack of these resources. And this is where behavior change matters. Excessive consumption diverts resources and capital from socially more productive and beneficial tasks to meet rising demands. Consider the law of diminishing marginal utility. After a point, increase in consumption does not lead to an increase in the level of fulfillment. In fact, it starts to decline. Just enough is the threshold after which, even if consumption is not increased, fulfillment can increase through various non-materialistic gains, such as happiness, generosity, mindfulness, self-reliance, social engagement, and gratefulness. Long-term sustained behavior change from a consumerist lifestyle towards a simpler one with mindful consumption is a long drawn and complex process because many of our unsustainable habits have become routine. This is where a thoughtful design of choice architecture can nudge consumer decision making towards desirable behaviors without limiting the freedom of the individual to make a choice. We live in a world of information overload and ever increasing options. But how a choice is framed tends to influence consumer behavior. With limited time and an increasing number of alternatives, individuals are likely to pick the default option given to them. And by setting the right defaults, we can promote better choices. In the recent past, several successful Indian schemes have employed insights from behavioral science. The Swachh Bharat mission is a good case study to understand how nudge factors, along with policy, infrastructure, and communication, can bring about behavior change. Launched in 2014 to achieve universal sanitation coverage, it was one of the first policies focusing on behavior change. While there was the material incentive of building free toilets, ensuring that they are also used was a challenge. This is where the principles of behavior change were applied. Local ambassadors of change were engaged in every village to create a sense of solidarity around the initiative, since people tend to adhere to and emulate someone they know or admire. Participatory rural appraisal brought individuals together as a community to address the issue of sanitation collectively. For people who did not work with the collective or those who resisted, it served as a failure bias and elicited the fear of attracting the scorn of the community. By attaching a sense of disgust to open defecation, it appealed to the emotions of the people, thus moving them to change. By empowering girls and women, the mission has been instrumental in improving the literacy rates and consequently discouraging early marriage of girls. This demonstrates how integrated actions can be taken which are good for the environment, good for human health, and empower vulnerable and marginalized sections of the community. The publication to be launched here shortly today has 3 components. It lists key sectors like transport, food, fashion, water, and waste, among others, where individual choices and actions can make a huge difference, and highlights some notable case studies from India where people, communities, and governments have demonstrated climate action. It summarizes the science behind behavior change and key behavior change models that can be implemented to nudge people towards positive lifestyle changes. Finally, it proposes a LiFE framework combining the different forces that need to act together to bring about change in our modern lifestyles. The publication aims to spark new academic discourses on behavioral science for climate action and expand the existing ones, deriving learnings from our traditional knowledge systems and combining them with modern science and innovative policy mechanisms. Climate change was caused by billions of people making lifestyle choices that were harmful to the planet. It may seem like an overwhelming problem now, but billions of people making equitable, pro-planet lifestyle choices, supported by technology, policy, and regulation, can lead us back to where we were, living in harmony with nature. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the change mission LiFE aims to bring about. Thank you.
Thank you, Parth. Now we'll be releasing this compendium booklet, From Effort to Effect. We have named it Prayas se Prabhav Tak. May I request the dignitaries on the stage to kindly release the booklet. Okay. Oh. Thank you very much, sirs. Thank you, madam. The compendium indeed is a rich collection of best practices and a good beginning point for the theory of behavioral change towards sustainable lifestyle and the theory of nudge to tackle climate change. Moving to the next section of our event today, I would request the dignitaries along with us to share their thoughts. And I would like to start with Mr. Arunabha Ghosh, who is the CEO of CEW, to share his thoughts. Mr. Arunabha Ghosh.
Good morning, Honorable Minister, Ms. Inga Anderson, Mr. Oves Sarma, Ms. Usha Rao Manari, Ms. Richa Sharma ji, and esteemed guests here. I'm Arunabha Ghosh. I'm the CEO of the Council on Energy, Environment and Water. CEW has been privileged to work very closely with Niti Aayog and with MOFCC in developing the analytical framework and the basic concept of Mission LiFE. I want to just reflect on a story in my presentation here. Exactly 10 years ago, in October 2012, I was going across rural India trying to look at how communities were adopting clean energy. You have to recall that clean energy was very expensive at that time. A single solar panel cost about $400. I came across a poor farmer in Karnataka, and he had installed solar panels on his thatched roof on top of his hut. And I asked him, why had he made that decision? And he said, look, I am consuming maybe about 1.5 to 2 units of electricity a day. Therefore, about 60 units of electricity a month. If I can make my electricity clean, that's 60 units of clean electricity that I'm contributing to my country. This is a story from 10 years ago. The whole point about Mission LiFE is that individual action using the theory of nudge need not only rely on the richest, it is a mission for all. Whether we look at the use of LED light bulbs, whether we look at the giving up of cooking fuel subsidies, a campaign that Honorable Prime Minister launched several years ago, asking people, the rich amongst us, to give up their subsidies so that money could flow to poorer households, or whether we look at the rollout of renewables today. At that time, we had less than 2,000 megawatts of renewables, of solar. Today, we have about 60,000 megawatts of solar, 165,000 megawatts of non-fossil electricity capacity. And India will be the first major economy that will build more renewables in this decade than its entire electricity system. This is how individual actions can scale up to a macroeconomic result. And therefore, my second point is that as we look at Mission Life, we have to look at its three major components. The nudging of behavior is where it starts. But the second and the third component, the enabling of markets and the supportive policy frameworks, are what will take this to scale. So think of how GDP is calculated. We look at consumption expenditure, we look at investment expenditure, we look at government expenditure, and we look at net exports. Of course, I realize I'm sitting in front of Professor Nick Stern, so I certainly should not be delivering an economics lecture here. Nevertheless, we can take this whole idea of Mission Life and see how are we changing consumption expenditure towards creating more demand for products that have lower resource footprint. How are we assessing every additional capital of investment that goes in to look at whether that is moving towards more sustainable investment? How are we looking at the power of government procurement? Whether it is in electricity, whether it's in clean vehicles, whether it is in steel, whether it is in LED light bulbs, to create a massive advanced market commitment for cleaner products. And of course, how are we reducing trade barriers and increasing trade and investment across our borders to have net exports which are also more consistent with the environment. My final point then is, as we are having this discussion in the middle of COP negotiations, I want to draw your attention to what Honorable Prime Minister said on 20th of October. He said Mission Life does not look at which country is part of which negotiating coalition. It actually brings everybody together. And I think that becomes the core of climate action, which has been missing thus far. And I hope that this mission can take us to a very different trajectory of climate action. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Ghosh. The powerful message that the Mission Life brings together everyone, it transcends borders. I would like to now invite Lord Nicholas Stern, who is I.G. Patel Professor of Economics and Government, Chairman of the Grantham Research Institute on Climate Change and the Environment, and Head of India Observatory at the London School of Economics. Lord Stern has been an advocate of life and also has followed the journey on sustainable lifestyles. He's a good friend of India. We really look forward to listening to your advice. Lord Stern, please.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Honourable Minister, for inviting me to join you. And it's a pleasure to see so many distinguished people on this platform and distinguished people, friends in the audience here. And thank you for that kind introduction. And I hope that the most important part of that was Friend of India, where I've been working now for 50 years. I was privileged to be at the virtual launch of LiFE with Prime Minister Modi, and was very struck by the way in which he expressed the importance of behaving and thinking differently and in terms of our environment. It's about living better on less with less damage. And if you excuse me just for a moment, Arunabha set this up, switching into economics mode. If we get more from less, if we do less damage in what we do, that increases unambiguously productivity. Increasing productivity is growth. This is a fundamental part of the new growth story of the 21st century. If we think of how we do it, reducing waste right across the board, has tremendous potential. We all know that 25, 30% or a third even of food is wasted across the world. Different countries find different ways of doing it, before or after harvest, you know, when it comes to market and so on. But wastefulness on food is enormous. We waste so much energy. In my own country, our homes are very badly insulated. We waste water everywhere. If you excuse me for using the analogy of Indian agriculture, where I've been working for the past 50 years, if your energy supply is intermittent, you might leave your electric pumping set on during the night in the hope that sometime during the night the electricity supply might come on. So it does come on, but you're not there. And what it does, it wastes the water, it goes on for a long time, and it washes off the topsoil. It's wasteful of water and topsoil. So there's so many ways across the board, country by country, where we can reduce waste. And we all know it's not just a matter of resource productivity, it's a matter of health too. The lifestyle that Prime Minister Modi is describing is much healthier than the current way we do things. Now, we haven't got time for many examples. You've seen many already. I try to offer the example of the pumping set. But there's so much creativity we can do. We can combine solar and crops in fields if we do it well. There's all sorts of creativity there. You know, system of root intensification for rice uses much less water. It doesn't flood the paddy fields. It doesn't release the methane, and it does less damage. That creativity is seen right across India, actually, and some extraordinary results on productivity in Nalanda district in Bihar, for example. Switching examples to what people can do in my own country and in other rich countries, our young people now will not get pensions related to their final salary. They will get pensions related to what they pay in. And then they choose where that is invested. So many more now of our young people are choosing technologies which are not destructive, and indeed which are the technologies of the 21st century, not the 19th, as destinations for their saving. So there's so many right across different kinds of activities, things that we can do. And actually our young people are being particularly creative in pursuing these opportunities. Business, working with government, can create the circular economy, can look at their supply chains. Business working with government can give people the information on the goods that they're selling so that the people wanting to take these decisions have the information on which to do it. International institutions, so well represented here today, can lead the charge as well. The charge in this sense is creating conditions where people can take the decisions that we know will be much better for us all. Agricultural support. We spend about $700 billion a year as a world in agricultural support. Now, I'm not arguing for less. Perhaps it should be more. But I'm arguing about being different. What do we get from that kind of agricultural support? We get degraded land, poisoned rivers, and destroyed forests. By casting it in a different way, we can change the incentive structures that people face so they can pursue the kinds of decisions which we're looking for here. And that is something where we can learn from each other. If you think of other people in other countries doing what you're doing, it actually reinforces you. You're part of something bigger. So there's so many ways we can go forward. We all have a role to play. I look forward very much to continuing to participate and offering ideas. Thank you again for inviting me. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lord Stern, for valuable ideas, examples of specific actions, and also talking about the initiatives or the creativity that young people bring to take the fight against climate change forward, and the role of international agencies. Thank you very much for that, sir. Talking of international agencies and talking of climate change, we talk about UNFCCC, United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. And we are privileged to have the Deputy Executive Secretary to the UNFCCC, Mr. Uwais Sarma Damangas. And I would not really take any further time to request Mr. Sarmad to share his views. Mr. Sarmad, please.
Thank you very much, and namaste, sir. Namaste, Honorable Minister and distinguished delegates here. First of all, I'd like to thank all of you here for bringing us together. Nilesh, thank you. Richa, very much appreciate your being here and organizing this on behalf of the Indian government. And once again, Honorable Minister, it's a great pleasure always to share events like this with you. Inger from UNDP, Usha, UNDP, Lord Stern, Aruna, thank you very much for the recent report, The Integrity Matters. It really is a powerful report. Thank you very much. And Niti Aayog, who's online, and others online, especially our colleagues in the UN India team, UNDP, UNEP, Atul, and others who are working closely all the way with us. I'd like to start with one very familiar saying that I'm sure you all know. It's an Indian saying which goes like this: those who protect nature are protected by nature. And furthermore, Bhagavad Gita, for instance, it says, let the human community protect the environment for their own survival and biodiversity around all of us. I come from a city, Hyderabad, in India, many of you know, and I grew up with magnificent boulders which date back to millions of years. But now, when I go back, those are all disappeared and replaced by huge, tall buildings, shopping malls, and roads and so on. So there is sign of progress, but not the kind of progress that we all should be looking forward to. I think we definitely need to protect our nature, the surroundings, the habitat, and this lifestyle for environment is all about that. Our culture has always upheld our fundamental duty and responsibility for the environment and highlighted the significance it holds in our daily lives. The environment is a global cause, global good for all of us, and we all have a personal responsibility. This project that has been launched by the Prime Minister Modi, Reduce, Reuse, Recycle, Reset, and the circular economy have been part of lifestyle of Indians and Indian culture for thousands of years. The LiFE initiative launched is one such step in strengthening our commitment towards Mother Nature and Mother Earth. India has one of the largest youth population, as we all know, and that gives us a huge opportunity also to mobilize mobilize movements such as this, to make transformational changes, systemic changes needed towards implementation of the Paris Agreement. Now, very briefly, what is happening on the other side of the conference here, the negotiations. This is so refreshing to see all that playing out here in practice with the launch of a project like this or initiative such as LiFE. Because what happens in the negotiations is one thing that sets the policy, that sets the international norms, but how then that gets translated and implemented is a very good example of why we're here today. So therefore, it's no longer an option, but rather a necessity to align our lifestyles for the protection and well-being of the environment. Lifestyle for environment is not just for call to action, a movement or a campaign. It is our responsibility. We need to change one small thing, everyone, everywhere, all around us in our lives, daily, to become a pro-planet people and friendly to the environment and the nature that we have inherited, not inherited, but borrowed from future generations. So once again, thank you very much, and I very much look forward to the full-blown implementation of the Lifestyle Project, and we are very much supporting that from the UNFCCC. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you for that last message of taking the full-blown initiative of the message that Lifestyle for Environment conveys. Talking of another multilateral agency, United Nations Development Programme. This is the agency which is responsible for capacity development initiatives across the world. We are talking about lifestyle for environment. We are talking about behavioral change. We are talking about nudge. There cannot be a better institution than UNDP to take this forward. And today we have with us Ms. Usha Rao Monari, Associate Administrator of UNDP, who has a vast experience not only in sustainable development issues, but also development finance. So we can't have a better speaker than Ms. Usha Rao Monari here in front of us. Thank you very much, Ms. Usha Rao Monari.
Thank you very much, and good morning, Excellencies, Namaskar, Honorable Minister, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. You know, somebody said climate is the largest and most important crisis we are facing in our lifetimes. We've all heard the UN Secretary General who said, we're in the fight of our lives and we're losing. Greenhouse gas emissions keep growing, and this is, we've heard it over and over again, but it becomes more important every time we hear it. More than 2/3 of global greenhouse gas emissions today actually can be attributed directly or indirectly to household consumption and lifestyles. And as we know, this consumption is not distributed equally. If we look at the world, the wealthiest 1% globally produce and consume more than twice the emissions of the poorest 50%. Providing equal access to electricity, food, water, etc., and other essential services requires that we find an equilibrium to how we live and how we live with the planet. And we need to strike this balance soon and almost immediately. The message of LiFE, or Lifestyle for Environment, launched by Prime Minister Modi and the Government of India, is an absolutely crucial one. What it says is, alongside governments, businesses, and other institutions, individuals and communities must also do their part to find the most important and resilient pathways to go forward. What does this mean? It means that not only do we have to change our own individual behavior, but we should also act together to influence the behavior of all actors along the consumption value chain. LiFE brings climate action, in fact, down to a level where each individual can play a role and each community can help make the difference. And the good news in all of this rather bad news is that some of the solutions are already there. If you look at India, and I'm an Indian, sustainability has been part of our traditional lifestyle for centuries. The video that we saw spoke to this very important fact. Similarly, there are other cultures and communities around the world who also have taken for centuries the notion of sustainable living into their everyday living standards. LiFE combines, therefore, traditional wisdom with modern science and innovation, because as we go forward, as our problems become more complex and interconnected and sometimes intractable, it's very important to use the tools of modern science and innovation to take us forward. LiFE aims to create a global network of exchanging knowledge and best practices that will inspire and drive forward a global community. And in this respect, I thank the Indian Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change for making UNDP a partner in this initiative. Ladies and gentlemen, progress and growth are extremely important to all of us, but it must be mindful and it must be sustainable. UNDP stands ready to work with governments, private sector, and civil society, and communities, of course, and individuals to respond to this global emergency and others that we will inevitably face. I believe together we can prove that a green, sustainable, and climate resilient future can go hand in hand with economic prosperity and social equality for all. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, madam. I would now like to invite Ms. Inger Anderson, ED of UNEP, who needs actually no introduction. She is heading the UNEP, and we are really thankful to UNEP for already supporting the mission LiFE. Ms. Inger Anderson, please.
Mr. Minister, Additional Secretary, my dear friend Parameyer, whom I've worked with for 20 years, Nick Stern, Usha, Orais, and colleagues. It's a great pleasure for me to speak today. Like Lord Stern, I was also had the privilege of participating in the virtual launch of LiFE. And I think that LiFE goes to the very heart of unsustainable consumption or production. And in fact, the solutions that LiFE offers are at the very heart of the solutions to the triple planetary crisis, that crisis of climate change, that crisis of nature loss, and that crisis of pollution. And the fact that a country like India puts its hand up and says that we will lead on this issue. Yes, we are not the country with the biggest footprint. Yes, there are others that have much greater footprint, but nevertheless, we will lead. We will lead now because we understand that if we shift, others will follow. That fact is magnificent. And so we, from our side, who are working on sustainable consumption and production, we salute you, and through you, the government, and indeed the Prime Minister, because this is critical. I was pleased to see my dear colleague and friend Usha quote the emissions gap report of 2020, the UNEP emissions gap report, which found that 2/3 of GHG emissions are directly associated with household when consumption-based accounting is taken into account. And that means not putting the blame on the individual consumers, because many times we are trapped in a sense of consumption, but it means raising the awareness and understanding the footprint that we have and the individual choices that we can have. Yes, in the way we move around the world and in our places of work. Yes, the way we heat and cool our places, and certainly the food choices that we make. Now, the emissions gap report of this year did not come with good news. What it tells us is that right now, with the current policies, we are on track to 2.8 degrees by 2100. I will say that again, 2.8 degrees by 2100. Right now we are living at 1.1 degrees, and what is that giving us? It's giving us typhoons and storms and droughts and floods and misery, and it is the poorest that are paying the highest price. And so it's all the more remarkable that a country with a large proportion of poor people is indeed stepping in to lead. Now, India has a special opportunity, and this is what is so special, because you will be leading the G20 next year. These 20 largest economies that, yes, are responsible for 75% of all carbon emissions, some with a much longer carbon historical trail and with a much larger per capita footprint, but nevertheless, they all have a responsibility to lean in. And so that system-wide transformation is critical. Because although we have all delivered the NDCs, when we take on board the NDCs now here present, that reduces us from 2.8 degrees to 2.6. And when we add the conditional NDCs, which are based on the available financing beyond the table, it only takes us to 2.4. So ladies and gentlemen, we are not on track. So every bit matters, and consumption-based approaches will be essential. Not to blame, as I said, but to help decarbonize our economies, our transport sector, our industry at the system level. That is the opportunity. And SDG 12 that the global community had the foresight to identify back in 2015, sustainable consumption and production, is a very platform that can lift the lifestyle across the world, the lifestyle initiative. Now, we know that the wealthiest 10% are responsible for almost half of the global emissions. And no, these are not the jet setters. Many who are in this room are in the wealthiest 10%. These are people who earn more than $113,000 a year. So responsibilities fall on that global middle class, that global class to shift. And the poor needs support, not lectures. So what kind of shifts? Well, we have spoken about sustainable transport, diets, and so on. We at UNEP, and I thank you for Indian leadership, we're proud in the last UNEA to see United Nations Environment Assembly to see a resolution that said that we shall begin negotiations towards a ban on plastic pollution from source to sea, the entire production chain. And that means also rethinking. And as we step into this lifestyle for environment, let's take the plastic curse with us. Now, we need plastics. We need it, we have it, we use it, you all have it in your clothing and in your households. But we have become lazy. We want to liquefy everything, our washing for the washing machine, our toothpaste, our soaps. Why? Why does it have to come in plastic containers? Rethink, be smart, legislate, and ensure that we reduce as well as refuse our plastic in the environment and that we go circular here. So let me, as I close out, salute India once more. India has led on this, but let me just remind you what India is also leading on. India held the presidency for COP14. You may have forgotten, but I have not, for the Desertification Convention. That was critical because that pushed a story about regeneration and is in fact a very good pathway onto life. India still holds the presidency for the Convention on Migratory Species, and that is critical because species do not know borders. They cross in the oceans, they cross in the air, and they cross on land. India holds that presidency today. And we know that in Montreal, COP15, where India will be present, we know that India will also speak to life and will also speak to the imperative of biodiversity conservation. So thank you for this leadership. We from UNEP are proud to work with you, are proud to host most of the, or be the custodian for most of the elements that the indicators under SDG 12. And I can assure you that as you take on the mantle of the G20 leadership, we will be by your side supporting this throughout. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, madam, and thank you for your message of the global middle class, their action that is required. Poor need support and not lecture. And in the end, also appreciating the actions taken by India right from COP14 onwards. So thank you very much, madam. It's my now proud privilege to invite Honorable Minister for Environment, Forest and Climate Change of India, Mr. Bhupender Yadav, to deliver his keynote address. Sir.
Ms. Inger Anderson, Mr. Oves Sarman, Ms. Usha Rao, Lord Nicholas, our Additional Secretary Richa ji, ladies and gentlemen. I welcome you all to the India Pavilion, designed with the theme LiFE, which stands for Lifestyle for Environment. This mantra given by Honorable Prime Minister of India, Shri Narendra Modi, places individual contribution at the center stage to find solution to problem posed by climate change. We bring with us the message of lifestyle for environment through our pavilion, which attempt to touch upon not only different aspects of the sustainable life but also highlight the various initiatives taken by India to make tangible differences in the life of the most vulnerable people combating the climate change crisis. Friends, we are at a critical juncture in our common fight against climate change, a juncture which require not just government effort but contribution from all stakeholders, each individual, toward ensuring a sustainable and equitable planet. The most credible finding in the recent past, like 6th assessment report of IPCC, UNEP gap report, have concluded unequally how human influence has had catastrophic impact on our air, oceans and land. Ladies and gentlemen, both Egypt and India are examples of century-old civilizations that have sustainable lifestyle practices embedded in their culture and traditions. India, under the visionary leadership of our Honorable Prime Minister, Shri Narendra Modi ji, has demonstrated to the globe that protecting environment remains the cornerstone in the policy making process of India. On 20th October this year, Mission Life was launched by the Honorable Prime Minister in the presence of UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres. I would like to take this opportunity to speak about Mission Life, a global mass movement which promotes environmentally conscious lifestyle at individual level. Mahatma Gandhi had said, and I quote, "The world has enough for everyone's need, but not everyone's greed." When in UNIA convention in Nairobi, I met Madam Anderson and I spoke about life. She told me a very beautiful line. She said me, "I understand the mission life. What we have taken from Mother Earth, we are returning her as a garbage." So that's, we have taken a water, we have taken a air, we have taken a mineral, but what actually we return to Mother Earth, so that is a responsibility of human being. What wonderful gift we will return to Mother Earth, not a garbage. That's a message given by Madam Anderson to me, and I convey to our Honorable Prime Minister also. I think that's a very simple and exact definition of life. Friends, according to the United Nations Environment Program, if 1 billion people out of the global population of 8 billion people adopt environment-friendly behaviors in their daily lives, like ending food waste, the global greenhouse emission can get reduced by 8-10%. Mission Life is a movement which focuses on mindful and deliberate utilization of resources in place of mindless and wasteful consumption. This is to protect and preserve the environment, and more importantly, it is a movement which has inclusivity in the spirit, making every individual a trustee of our environment. Life inspires each individual to contribute their bit as per their capacity, taking stairs, using cycles to commute, reusing resource, turning off the power when not needed, eliminating the use of plastics is one's daily life, are some ways of adopting a lifestyle which is favorable for the environment. And I want to inform you at this occasion that in our country, we completely legally ban the single-use plastic in our country. Collecting individual effort can make this mass movement a great contributor in achieving our goal of making the world a better and sustainable place for our future generation. As Mr. Oves said, a message that is from our scripture, and that is a motto of our ministry, Prakriti Rakshitaha Rakshitaha, which means nature protect if she is protected. This describes the essence of environment-friendly sensitivity. Friends, we need to build up our environment senses that ensure that our lifestyle doesn't impact the lives of those around. It is not just humans around, but also birds, animal, plants, trees, wetland, and forests. It is a matter of pride that several world leaders have appreciated and supported India's effort toward promoting environment-friendly lifestyle. Reduce, reuse, and recycle is the mantra incorporated in this mission. We have all been witness of several meaningful initiatives by different countries like Denmark and Netherlands that have inspired the world with their biking culture in their countries and green initiative at macro level. All countries need to know, embrace such example of environment-friendly lifestyle as a part of their daily living. A Japanese concept, Eishofuni, a principle that human life and its environment are closely connected to each other, echoes the same commitment of individual relation with the environment and its consequent impact. Friends, we must understand that climate change goes beyond just policy making, and its effect transcend geopolitical borders. Mission Life make the fight against climate change democratic, in which everyone can contribute with their capacity. Mission Life also contribute toward implementing the Sustainable Development Goals set up by United Nations General Assembly, which were adopted by all United Nations members state in 2015. It's inspired us to do all can be done in our everyday life to protect the environment. As stated by our Prime Minister, I am happy to release, and we have already released this compendium, Prayas Se Prabhav Tak today in the August gathering, which means effort translating into impact, a philosophy that guide the policy making process under the able leadership of Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi. I call upon world leaders and global citizens to go on the philosophy of life and extend their support to be change the way they wish to see in the world. The luxury to pass the buck is no longer there, as our Honorable Prime Minister has said, and I would like to quote, in our daily life choices, let us pick the most sustainable options. Our planet is one, but our effort have to be many. One earth, many efforts. India stand ready to support any effort for a better environment and to further global wellness. With these words, I would like to thank you for coming out today and make this event a success. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much, sir. And thank you for sharing the powerful message from our Honorable Prime Minister. In our daily life choices, let us pick the most sustainable options. Our planet is one, but our efforts have to be many. One earth, many efforts. Thank you very much, sir, for sharing this message. We come to the end of this particular event, and I hope that you have been able to gather as much as possible for undertaking the initiatives at your own individual levels and taking the message of life forward and sharing it with all around you. May I request now Mr. Parth Joshi from UNDP India, who UNDP, UN India, and UNEP have been partners in this particular event. So may I request Mr. Parth Joshi to please propose a vote of thanks.
On behalf of UN in India, UNDP and UNEP, we would like to thank Mr. Parmeswaran Iyer, CEO Niti Aayog, who could join us virtually. We thank our dignitaries, Honorable Minister Shri Bhupendra Yadav, Ms. Inger Anderson, Ms. Usha Rao Munari, Mr. Ovesh Sarmat, Lord Nicholas Stern, and Mr. Arunabha Ghosh, who took out the time to join us here today. We thank officials at the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, Ms. Richa Sharma, Additional Secretary, and Mr. Nilesh Kumar Shah, Joint Secretary, for their immense guidance and support. We thank our colleagues in the UN family, the Ministry, and the IT and logistics teams who worked tirelessly behind the scenes and round the clock to make this event happen. We have an exciting lineup of events today on the theme of life planned at the India Pavilion, and we look forward to your participation. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Just to share with you all, we'll be having a very important event on release of India's long-term low-emission development strategy shortly from at 11:45.
I think Minister said, okay, let's have
reminded me of is just all the busyness, all the talking, all the meetings that we're here for is really about people in countries all over the world, and it helps us feel a little bit more connected to sit here and do something that's so part of Indian culture, and being from Australia and getting an opportunity to look and take some